Welcome to another analysis video, and this will be part one of a two-part series on the Dunlop FX 700 racket. And in this racket we've got Solinco Outlast 1.25 in the mains, and in the crosses it's a new string. It's the Prince Tournament Nylon 15L, so that's the 1.38 millimeter gauge. So I'm going to quickly go through some stats off of the performance database, and this is at a tension of 62 pounds. So we've got a stiffness rating of 211.5 pounds. We've got a dwell time of 31.6 milliseconds and a deflection of 30.1 millimeters. So very little deflection, very little dwell time in comparison to some of the other strings we've been recently testing. And the stiffness rating at 211.5 is getting towards the upper range of the stiffness scale. Moving along, the thing that really caught my eye was the tension maintenance at 17.8%, which is outstanding. But you'd expect that from a nylon string in comparison to a polyester string. And we've got a energy return of 93.3%. So I'm expecting a lot of power from this string and maybe some more surprises as we go along. We'll have a look at the recent match I played, a recent practice match I played, and see how the setup performed. During the first couple of games, I quickly realised how ineffective hitting through the ground strokes was with this racket. And so I felt like I had no choice but to switch up to the backhand slice. And without realising what would happen, it seemed to be quite an effective play. I had a lot more control than I expected with this shot, and not just that, the ball was skidding through the court, and that's a bit unusual since the sun was out, the court was super dry, but I was still managing to get the slice to zip through the court and cause my opponents problems. So this was a big surprise to me. One of the big advantages of this setup is just how effective the backhand slice is. And because I had a shot that skidded through the court and was consistent at the same time, it improved my rally tolerance, and on top of that, my rally defense. So I didn't feel like I have in previous setups where I had to get onto the front foot straight away in order to have a chance in the rally. With this setup, I was a little bit more comfortable falling behind the rally and defending, knowing that I could rely on the slice to get me back to neutral at least, or in some cases put me ahead in the rally. And that was very interesting, something I didn't expect, and also a shot now that I can use as not just a defensive strategy, but also as an offensive strategy, which again is useful for my original plan of coming into the net. So I can use that as an offensive approach shot as well. A few rallies here where I managed to quickly neutralize and get back on top of the rally, or at least stay neutral and draw the error from my opponent. Very interesting indeed. As to why the backhand slice was so effective, looking at the stats and attributes of the setup, the racket, the main string, the tension, I still don't really know. But we'll make a note that this setup is very effective with this particular shot. And if we notice patterns in future, of course, I'll let you guys know as well. So if we decide on a strategy that relies heavily on the backhand slice, then of course we'll refer to that and try to get the attributes that contribute to an effective slice into that setup. So hopefully that makes sense. On to, the negative. One of the negatives I thought from this setup, especially with the newer balls being quicker, it was my first serve percentage was pretty dreadful. I mean, my percentage usually is low anyway, from 40 to 50%, and it's just something I've accepted in return for a little bit more pace on the first serve. But I think the first couple of games it was 2-2, and I was thinking to myself, I can only remember one first serve going in. So what, 1 out of 10? It's really dreadful. And not just that, it zaps your stamina, it zaps your energy. And I decided that I'm going to have to start kicking some of these first serves in just to try and get some rhythm. The kick serve, it wasn't too bad, but it was helped by the sun and the dry conditions. So I got a few that managed to kick up above the shoulders of my opponent, and a few to turn a little bit more than usual off of the drier surface. So I think a fairer test of the kick serve would be on a smoother surface with less help from the sun drying out the conditions. And I want to return back to this point, but look at this clip here and see that not always am I able to successfully neutralize, even if I play the type of point I want, which is not too bad. This maybe that last forehand was a little short, but yeah, just letting you know what I have to contend with when I'm trying to neutralize. Even if I get it correct, my opponent has the power and timing to still hit through my defense. And we had a couple clips there showing me getting the kick serve not quite right, not enough turn off the surface, not enough kick or pace, and my opponent immediately taking control in some cases with a flat out winner. Okay, that was a pretty cool point, but I'm under no illusion that in the long run that is not a winning play. As the match went on, and I'm talking about 80 to 90 minutes into the overall match time, the balls obviously started to slow down. And for the first time I think that I've really experienced, my first serve got a bit better as the balls got slower through the air, as I didn't have to worry too much about the length. More of my serves were not going long, and so I could be a little bit more aggressive, and it was that aggression that was allowing me to come forward a bit more, which was the original game plan before I had to abort, since my percentage was diabolical. But yeah, that's something I've not experienced in the past, and something I had to mention to you because it's important to factor that in mind as we go forward and develop this setup. So yeah, the setup actually performed better on the flat serves with the older balls, which is kind of the opposite of what you would expect, since the newer balls give you more pace through the air and off of the surface. A few more clips to play in the background while I discuss the takeaways from this first session with the new setup. Just to recap, the main strength of this setup was the backhand slice, the consistency, the bite off of the court, the skid through, and its ability to increase my rally tolerance were all major positives. And on top of that, it improved my defense, so I was able to approach the match with a little bit more confidence from the back of the court. I mean, I thought I'd end on that point, because even though I played it quite well, it was a stunning passing shot from my opponent. But yeah, as I was saying, my rally tolerance improved, my defense improved, all because of the backhand slice performing above expectations. So that was the main positive of the setup. And as we mentioned before, the main disadvantage of this setup was with the newer balls, the first serve percentage was very, very low. I'm talking probably lower than 30%. And I just could not control the length. And as a result, too many errors long and overcompensating, too many errors into the net. And that does translate into being aggressive from the baseline as well. I couldn't do that since, as I just said, too many shots were going long. And so that is a issue that needs to at least be factored in as we move forward. I was thinking we could just address it directly to try and bring that pace in, try and bring the landing point of the ball a few inches at least inside the service line, or for a ground stroke inside the baseline. Or also I could look at the kick serve. So if I haven't got that rhythm, I could look at using the kick serve as a replacement first serve. But of course, the kick's got to be effective. I've got to get a lot of bite off of the court, turn off of the court, and ideally combine that with a lot of pace. So if I do decide, I still want to come forward and put pressure on my opponent, I've got that option to do so, because the kick serve is putting my opponent under enough pressure to induce a neutral or defensive reply. So there's a few options. Looking forward, I will have a look at the performance database and, of course, all the racket recommender tools and see what I can come up with. But we do have a part 2 yet. That will be another practice match, and I'll analyze it. We'll see if the strengths stay the same. I'm aiming for the conditions to be a little bit different, so maybe a different surface or different weather conditions, or indoors. We'll see what happens, and then see if the strengths and weaknesses remain consistent. And then from there, we'll look at improving some of those aspects further with some more setup changes. So yeah, that brings us to the end of this video. I want to, as always, thank you all for watching. I do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, it might be worth checking out the other content on this channel and staying tuned for further releases. And so hopefully I will see you all there. And until then, everyone, take care.